Welcome back. You're watching Power Breakfast on CNBC-TV18, and India's industrial output continued to contract for the second month in a row. After a 1.4% contraction in August, IIP in September has shrunk by 4.3%. This is the steepest fall in more than 8 years. Lata is here with all the details. Lata?
The latest macro numbers, the industrial output for September, is rather troubling. Coming in at minus 4.3%, it's the lowest since the new series with the new base year started. And what's worse, even the August IIP number has been lowered from an already terrible minus 1.1% to minus 1.4%. Clearly, the street was not, the body of economists were not prepared. The CNBC-TV18 poll put the expectation at minus 1.9. Not a great number, but clearly no one was prepared for this very steep fall, minus 1.4 in August and minus 4.3 in September. What's worse, you know, the IIP is made up of some 8 broad sectors. Of that, 7 have shown contraction. Mind you, we are not talking slowdown now. We are talking contraction. We have produced less than we produced in the same month last year for 7 of the 8 sectors that comprise industrial output. Let's start off. First up, the manufacturing sector. This is about 80% of the total IIP. And there, we are producing 4% less than we produced in September of 2018. Let that be very clear. This is not a slowdown. Let's come to mining. There again, you're going to see mining growth minus 8.5. And in the month of August, it was 0.1. Electricity. This is serious, you know, when you consume less electricity, what you're really saying is that industrial output has gone down so much that you're not even consuming as much power as you consumed last year, same time. Let's come to capital goods. Capital goods is terrible. Obviously, if there is no one consuming consumer goods, capex would go for a toss, and it's minus 21 in August, minus 21 in September. Consumer durables, okay, primary goods, here you can see the very steep fall that's coming in September. We're kind of holding out till then, but consumer durables, everybody saw this coming. These are largely auto sales, and there it's going from, of course, bad to worse. What we didn't see coming is non-durables. I mean, most of the FMCG companies were still telling us between 5% volume growth to about 10-11% volume growth. And you know, even if you're not earning enough, you may not buy the next mixie or consumer durable, but you will buy toothbrushes and toothpaste and soaps. So consumer non-durables, FMCG products falling to contracting compared to last year, September. That's a bit of a shocker. That means people are, you know, actually cutting back on very essential expenditure. The only thing that didn't show this cut was what is government sponsored, and that is intermediate goods. It includes a bit of cement and stuff like that, but it also chemicals. Here, India is doing very well in the export sector. So maybe that is accounting for intermediate goods doing well. But obviously, the body of economists looking at these numbers have changed their expectations. We are going to get the second quarter GDP number on November 29th. This is for July, August, September GDP. The old numbers for SBI and for Nomura was 5%. They have cut it down to 4.2. This is for the quarter gone by. But for the full year as well, deep cuts have come. Nomura has cut from an old number of 6% to 4.9 for the full year. That will end on March 31. SBI has cut their expectations from 6.1 to 5%. The Reserve Bank started the year for FY20. Their expectations were at 7.2 in January. They've also scaled down to 6.1, 6.2%, and it looks like when they meet next, they will have to scale that down further. So we are in a very terrible situation.
Lata, thanks a lot for that. So not looking good as far as the September IIP is concerned. And with this contraction, the chorus for a rate cut is likely to get louder. Let's hear out what economists have to say on this data point and what their expectations are going forward.
The focus has been on investment revival. Now, unfortunately, investment is always a derived demand. It always depends upon the investors' perception of what is going to happen in the future. When will demand pick up and with what strength? Unless there is a visible change on the demand side, it's not going to affect investments at all. You can cut interest rates all you want. You can give, reduction of corporate income tax rates. It's not going to change the investment numbers very much.
Professor Mundal, what's your thought? Do you think festive season, lower rates, flooding the banking system with liquidity are all going to add up to something in the third quarter? We saw good two-wheeler sales and car sales in October.
Yeah, unfortunately not, Lata. I think as Pranav was mentioning, the challenge is all on the demand side, but easing monetary policy like interest rate cuts, we've been doing it now for several months, but it's not having much impact. The transmission is very weak, and it's not translating into the the average lending rates and so on, weighted average lending rates, for the simple reason that banks cannot keep on reducing lending rates unless they reduce the deposit rates, and there they have to compete with high rates on things like small savings. Yeah. The relatively high rates on risk-free GSECs and so on, so they're worried that they will lose their deposits. So I'm afraid the transmission is not going to ease up anytime soon. So monetary policy is not going to cut it. It really has to happen through the fisc.
Shaumya, let's straight away discuss solutions. What should be the answer to just pull down? I mean, we are saying that monetary policy is not the answer, but even that has not worked. Rates have not come down for the borrower.
No, I think Lata, monetary policy dynamics is becoming very difficult. I think one extremely important data point which you just look into for a longer period, for the last 3 years, you will see that there has been a significant decline in the money multiplier. So that means for the same level of monetary base, whether it is because of declining credit demand or because of different forms of transaction, digital, or people actually holding cash, I think that's a matter of debate. But if that declines continuously, that says that the effectiveness of monetary policy is questionable in the current context. So no amount of, so the RBI could actually cut rates again, maybe with a larger magnitude, but things are not going to work out.
Okay, that is the word coming on from some experts. But GDP growth also may not see an uptick in the coming quarter. Government sources tell CNBC-TV18 that GDP may come in at below 5% level in the second quarter. Sapna Das filed this report.
Well, what we have picked up so far from the government circles are two aspects. Your second quarter GDP number, which is out end of November, in most probability it's going to go below 5%, almost a given that it will be below 5%. Probably the question that is being thought about or being asked is not just about the Q2 number going below 5%, but probably to what extent below 5%. Probably that's where the matter rests as of now. The estimates are going to be worked out over a period of time, over the next few days. Also, the government may be waiting for the pricing data to come out, and also some more information as far as the corporate data is concerned. So officially, no confirmation as of now going below 5%, but that's what we are given to understand very safely from the government circles. The second aspect, of course, is that this may also impact your annual GDP forecast. So far, the government has not really indicated much on that front, except the RBI forecast, which is at 6.1%, and various other private sector agencies which have given all kinds of estimates for FY20. But if the Q2 number goes well below 5%, it's definitely going to impact your annual forecast for FY20 further. So to what extent, that remains to be seen. So there are two major aspects that we need to keep in mind. We are also given to understand from some other quarters that probably the October IIP also may not be in a positive territory. So that's something we have to wait and watch for. But as of now, this is the indication that we have been given for Q2 imprint.
All right, so those are about the macros of the country, but let's slip into a short